In this tutorial, we're going to look at naming at the various levels in the compass hierarchy. And the key concepts: why naming is important, what do we need to consider when naming the various levels in compass. We'll look at levels where we have flexibility in naming to suit our particular workflow, and we're looking at levels where we're more constrained and what constrains us. We'll look at how the properties defined at different levels may affect how we name the compass hierarchy, and we'll see that it's important to make the naming fit your workflows and your drilling environment. Why is naming important? The naming convention is the first thing that a user sees in an application such as compass. So the clarity of the naming says something about the data below it. Informative naming tells the user something about the data. For example, distinguishing between a planned and an actual rotary elevation enables the user to see at a glance which one is selected on a particular design. Also, if the naming enables the user to quickly find the data they're looking for, then it's a more efficient use of the user's time. A well thought out, robust, consistent naming convention gives the user confidence in the data below it. Using a naming convention, as we've just described, promotes overall data quality. Naming considerations: well, the naming should be logical, informative, correct, consistent, and we don't have to accept default naming. It may not be appropriate. We want to use something that describes the data below it and will be meaningful to other users. Use naming that's a good fit for your workflow. You may have to follow a naming convention laid down by a regulatory body like a Department of Mineral Resources or a Department of Mines. Also, you might be constrained by what's been used historically. You need to consider the implications of having a new or a different naming standard in compass, particularly if it's different to the naming that exists in other applications and data stores. And it may be that a lack of compatibility prevents you from having a new naming standard in compass. You might also consider aligning your naming with other work groups like the geologists or the production guys. Grouping wells in compass, for example, to match the geological areas used by the geologists might promote efficiency, or naming the slots the same as the construction group or the production group have. Obviously, you need to include as much useful information as you can in the space available, given that the space is limited. It's important not to lose any clarity. And we need to understand what specific properties are defined at each level in compass, because these properties will impact the naming convention to a degree. Also notice that there might be a difference between the way that, say, a directional service provider sets up their data